And here we are, another episode of the Positive Power Hour. This is my great host, my great co host, Nicole, and I'm Dan. And so welcome to everybody. I'm looking forward to seeing comments in our comments section. And then I have a couple of little announcements, kind of minor things, but a little something anyway. So I would like to know by anybody that's in the gallery there if you were able to see the timer that I had put on, or whether we just saw it on this end. So if you could let me know if that was something you could see or not, that would be terrifical. And I also want to let you know that as of this week, we now have our very own YouTube channel that has
What?
all of our Facebook and YouTube now live events on that channel. And on
Way to
that channel,
go.
we are going to have our live events, and we're going to have our whisper tips will all be recorded for video. And we will also have Mind Whispering the Whisper Way stories and explanation of what Mind Whispering the Whisper Way is all about. As some of you know, it's a combination of counseling, coaching, and whisper products that help to release all that negative energy we've built up throughout our lives to help us go on that journey that we want to go on to become that awesome person that we know is inside that maybe you're not aware of yet, right? So this is our Mind Whispering the Whisper Way channel. There's Nicole holding her whisper, and there's me with
I
my
just,
whisper. I've got three that I wear all the time, and then there's the one that we wear on the necklace as well. I have like 3 or 4 house units that I have in my home, so the energy in the house is always very calm and peaceful and soothing. And we have I wear at least 3 whispers all the time because there's just so much energy out there that bombards us on a daily basis, between the massive amount of people in our world nowadays, to electricity and microwaves and television and radio and YouTube and TikTok and, oh gosh, what else? Twitter and all of those things that take our mind out into the world and drives us crazy. And what we really want to do is get that mind inside, get it quiet, right? I was at a friend's house yesterday, and I'll share a little bit more about her as the evening goes on here. But she has a poster. In fact, I'm going to have to make a clip to put on with this little saying. It says, um, it'll come to me. Anyway, it talks about that you have to have a quiet mind to hear God's whisper, right? And that to me is always talked also about the intuitive sense that you ladies especially had in such strong ways years ago. And then y'all decided you wanted to be more like us men, and you got into thinking too much, right? And I was watching a video yesterday that talked about thinking, and this young girl was complaining that she just thinks all the time, and it's like, God, why I overthink everything. And the coach's response was, well, it's a good thing to think. Too many people nowadays don't think; they just act, and they don't reason. They don't use critical thinking to decide whether what they're reacting to really has any merit or not, right? And so, there's that fine line. We have to think, but most of us, if we realized how seldom we need to think, would realize just how much we overthink, right? And how can we hear that intuitive voice that tells us this is the right direction to go in, or that's the right way to go, if our mind is racing so much that we can't hear anything? And that's really what this work is all about, is the realization that, you know, the world is, there's all kinds of things to give our attention to. And some of it seems like fun, and some of it seems like drama, and some of it seems like, but it's just too much. And so often it doesn't happen until we get older in life. Like, like for me, I can remember back in the day when the dinosaurs roamed, right? And
You sure can.
yeah, and I loved being busy just like everybody else. But then I got to realize as I got a little more seasoned in life that I don't need all that drama, and I don't need all the problems, and I don't need all the crisis. I just want love, And that's really what life is all about, isn't it? Is love. So I'm looking for comments. I don't see any yet. Do you? No? All right. Well, we'll get them when they get here, right? So once again, we'll put up that banner for those of you that didn't see it yet, YouTube channel. And this is for the people that watch the program recorded, right? In fact, the young lady I was talking about with that little poster on her wall about, God's, to be able to hear God's whisper. She was talking about how she came across our live broadcasts, and when she got really tired one night, she just put it on and just listened, because she's heard that voice for 20 some odd years now, right? And the same advice over and over. It's like ad nauseum, right? But she said it was just so soothing to hear those thoughts and those suggestions and all the things that I constantly remind the people I coach about, is getting clear about who you are, first of all, which most of us don't know. We really don't know who we really are, right? And we take all of the things that we hear in the Bible, all the things that we hear in our churches, all the things that we hear in, motivational seminars and self-help gurus and all of those things, that we don't understand who we really are. And if we did, we wouldn't allow the kind of life that we've allowed up to this point, right? The suffering and the struggle and the disrespect and the lack of peace within ourselves. It's like my teacher always said, if we realize the harm we do by worry and fear, we'd never allow it, because those things affect us physically, emotionally, and mentally. So why in the world would we do that to ourselves, right? I don't know if I mentioned this to you all. I know I say everything about 10,000 times over, but for those of you that haven't joined yet, we also have the Facebook groups, the Mind Whispering group, that you can join as well. I noticed that Nicole and Melinda both are putting on posts there as well about positive affirmations and suggestions, just to kind of to remind everybody that it's okay. You're going to get through this. No matter how tough it is that you're going through right now, it's not going to last forever. The good times never last, and neither do the bad, right? So there's another thing you can do, is you can join our Mind Whispering group. And I was talking about what, Nicole?
Worry and
fear and not knowing who we really are.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And my dear friend was talking about her daughter's having a baby. And as Nicole can attest to, when your children are having children, it's a whole different feeling than it was when you were having children, right? The love, I think, is even stronger. And because you know what she's going through, your empathy is even greater. And, just a flood of emotions come through about, what's going on in her world and your world and just all those changes. And she was thinking about, gosh, I wish I could have been a better role model for my daughter. Well, she was an awesome role model for her daughter, right? But we all think that we do a horrible job at everything. I always told you and Joe that you both grew up awesomely in spite of me, right? And that's partly true and partly a joke, right? But I do know who I am today. But I just had to remind her that she had a card on her nightstand that her daughter had sent her, talking about the example that mothers set by their strength and their wisdom and their compassion and their love, right? And as I told her, her daughter wouldn't have picked that card if she hadn't felt that way about her, right? So, we all once in a while need a reminder that we're a lot better than we think we are, and that we're all a work in progress. My teacher was in the video I watched yesterday. He was talking about the fact that, we all make mistakes. This is a Zoom thing, and people, ask him questions and beg for him to, remove their sins and all this kind of stuff. And he just says, look, I can't do that. That's up to you, right? And that the Lord is infinite in his mercy. All he asks us to do is to do better, right? And yet, I don't know about any of you, although I actually kind of do. We beat ourselves up, right? We'll make a mistake, and instead of it being a 1 second mistake or 10-second mistake or whatever length that mistake was, I could beat myself up for months because of a mistake I made, right? And, and I've told that story about my friend that hated the saying that I love to use, was that the beatings will continue until your attitude improves, right? That's for my dear Linda. You'll see this at some point, I'm sure. And now she has it on her coffee table because she got to understand the importance of it, right? And I don't know if I've shared this here or not. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do it again. But it was about the time I was sitting on a chair in my living room with tears pouring down my face, asking myself, what in the world was it I did that I thought was so bad that I had to keep beating myself like I was, right? It wasn't too much longer after that I gave up drinking and drugs and women and all the other things I had to give up. But, it takes that kind of awareness, that kind of jolt to our thinking process of saying, wait a minute, what am I doing, right? Why am I beating myself up so bad? And we all do it in ways, right? For some of us, it's alcohol. For some of us, it's drugs. For some of us, it's food. And for most of us, it's a combination of many of those things, right? Maybe we over-exercise. I've known people that were bulimic because they wanted to lose more weight. So they'd run like crazy and eat just salad and they, burn 10,000 calories and take in 2,000 and wonder why they look like a ghost, right? But they can't see it because all they see is that fat person they think they are. That's what bulimia is all about, right? Is there's a word for it, but it's how you can't see who you really are. You have a distorted view of yourself, and no
body dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia. Thank you. Yes, and the truth of the matter is, no matter what we do to hurt ourselves, overeating is abuse. Over drinking is abuse. I've known people. To me, they're very sick people. They're people that can just have one drink and walk away from it. I mean, that's just ridiculous, right? Why bother if that's all you're going to do, right? But, whether it's alcohol or drugs or sex or food or exercise or cutting yourself or burning yourself or all of these different things that we can do, or stay with an abusive person, all of those things are self-abuse, right? And when we start to understand who we truly are, everything changes. I remember a dear friend of mine he had decided it was time for him to go through a divorce. And he wanted me to guide him through it because I'd been through it and helped a couple other people. And he kind of wanted some help with it. And I explained to him that the more you pull to the positive, the more the negative things kind of wash away from you. The negative friends that you have just suddenly seem to go elsewhere, right? The negative spouse that you have, you don't have to have a big fight with them or anything else. Just all of a sudden they'll just go, I gotta get out of here. This isn't good for me, right? And that's okay, right? But that's what happens as you pull to the positive, is that your negative thinking starts to diminish. That negative energy that you broadcast out to the world that, hey, I'm a victim, I'm a loser, I can be had, I can be, you can cheat on me, it won't matter, I'll take it because I just want someone to be in my life, regardless of, how bad you might be, I feel like such a loser that if anybody wants me, I'll take them, right? Well, all of those things start to change as you start to recognize who you really are. And it's kind of what I was talking about in the video I did for the second tip about up until now. That what we're really doing here on this plane is remembering who we are because we forgot, right? So they say, okay, go on the other side, learn your lessons, then you can come back. Kind of like getting kicked out of elementary school, right?
I wouldn't
But
know what that felt like.
no, yeah, well, but we're all, this is our learning ground. This planet has never been nirvana, and it never will be, because this is where we work out all of those negative thoughts and feelings and wrong attitudes and wrong beliefs of ourself and of life, right? And as my teacher was talking to that woman, he says, look, just do better, right? He says, we all talk about being human beings, but what it's really about is being human. And when you can accept the fact that the mistakes that you think you make are really just part of the journey, it's part of the process, right? And it's about learning from our mistakes. If you make a mistake, that's no big deal. But if you keep making the mistake, then it's what's the old saying about, screw me once, shame on you, screw me twice, shame on me, right? So I can make a mistake, and God knows I make plenty of them darn near daily, right? But most of the time it's not the same mistake. We get to learn quicker the mistakes of our ways, right? And
if we keep doing it, it's not a mistake, right? It's
exactly right. It's an intention at that point, isn't it? Yeah. But it's all about getting clear, right? It's all about, as he said yesterday, it's about understanding truth, right? And truth is that we have that divine spark inside each of us. Truth is that we have the same attributes as God. They're just unpolished, right? We all have compassion. We all have empathy. We all have the power to forgive. We all have big hearts. But we have so much dirt and rust covering up that diamond, that spark of the divine that's within each and every one of us, that we don't even recognize it's there. We don't, if you ask people what soul is, most people couldn't tell you. They would tell you, well, that's this thing that the Black people sing about all the time in church, about the soul, right? But how many people really understand what soul is? Soul is that spark of the divine. And each of us has that. So the whole idea of life is to become more, not less. We shrink ourselves because we think it takes less responsibility. We don't have to do the right thing if we become invisible. We don't have to take that extra step to do the right thing, right? We can just kind of wallow in the mud that we've lived in. It's okay, right? But I can tell you that the more you clear that vessel, the more you get rid of all that filth that we've been wallowing in for our whole life, the more we let go of the idea that we are less than, right? It doesn't mean you have to be wealthy. It doesn't mean you have to own General Motors. It doesn't mean you have to have 10,000 employees or any of those things, right? Success is when you've got that peace of mind and your heart is so open to helping people, right? My daughter and I were talking about that before the call, how her house is open to almost anybody, right? If they have a desire to improve their lives, her door is open to them. She's more than happy to help them in any way that she can. And I think that is just so wonderful. I don't have my doors open to everybody.
Well, I figure my home is God-given, right?
Yes, it is. I agree.
So if I don't, and it's not just open to everybody, right? Like it's a
Well, like
certain,
I said, they have to have a
yeah,
desire to grow, right?
right.
Yeah.
Um, but we do have the extra room, and it's God-given, and so I want to be helpful in any way that I can.
I think that's wonderful, and that's another example that we learn from everybody, right? You get to be an example for me to follow. I don't know that I'll be opening my front door anytime soon, but we'll see. So anyway, that's the gist of the talk today, really, and it's really what we talk about every week, really, right? It's about getting clear about who we really are. It's having that confidence within yourself that it's it's kind of like when you can laugh at your own mistakes, right? I can remember when I had no self-esteem. If I made a mistake, there was no laughter about it, right? I can make jokes about other things, but not about the mistake I just made, right? And as you get clearer about yourself, you can joke about those little things that you do that, oh God, I can't believe I did that, right? It's cool. So, that's the purpose of the Power Hour to start our week, is to get on the right foot, right? Recognize that no matter what happens during your week, it's okay. You've got that spark inside of you that says, I can do this. I can handle this. I can get through this, right? And to just keep giving love, right?
And even when we mess it up, right, we can
Yeah,
clean it up. We can start over and try different in the next moment, right? It's just a
every second,
moment by
right?
moment. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
You don't have to be stuck in, I messed up. I just might as well give up.
yeah. Well, how many people do we know that went on a diet and quit the diet because they ate something that wasn't on their diet? So they
Right.
say, oh, the heck with it, and just don't try anymore, right?
Yep.
And how many people
Guilty.
start their own? Well, everybody's done that, right? Rather than, and that's, it's like one of the things he was talking about in his videos was meditation. And as you know, it's a key part of my program is meditation. And he was talking about the fact that most people quit that as well, right? They'll have those days where it's really dry and boring, and they just, oh God, I want to do this, and they don't do it. And then a week goes by, and then a month goes by, and then a year goes by, and it's like, whoa, where'd I go, right? But it's the old saying about slowly and slowly, right? You just keep working towards your goal. Never give up, never quit, right? And after a while, it's like the mind starts going, all right, I guess he's not going to give up on this. So I guess I might as well do it. Right. And, when you do that, you start noticing things start to change a bit. Right. And, we've talked before about how this world that we experience is an inside job. And the world that you're experiencing is a direct reflection of the energy that's in you. Right. So if you're really harsh and critical with yourself, guess what you're going to be with the people out in the world? Harsh and critical, right? If you think that life sucks, you're probably going to find a world that sucks, right?
Not to mention your face is going to show it.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you when you get to realize that you're a human, you're being human, and that those lessons that you're learning are all to help you become the person that you're destined to be, then you realize those mistakes aren't mistakes. They're just stepping stones. That's all they are, right? And so that, that criticalness that we judge ourselves over about what we perceive to be mistakes aren't mistakes at all. They were exactly what God wanted you to go through to learn the lesson of that event, whatever it was, so you can go on to bigger and better things, because he already knows who you are, right? We're the ones that don't know, right? So the more we practice and practice and practice, and the more love we give, the more, the old saying, it's like money. The more, you can't outgive God, right? So the more you give, the more comes back to you. And it's like you're busy trying to give more and he keeps giving you more. And it's like, oh my God, how am I ever going to outgive God? Well, you can't, right? But it sure is fun trying, right? So that's what I get to experience every day is I always say I like to smile and make people wonder what I'm up to, right? But I have a smile on my face a great deal of the day. And I get to have a lot of fun every day, meeting people and talking with them and hearing what's going on in their world. Maybe give them a little advice from someone that's, been down the hard road and knows what that feels like. If I can share a little something that I've learned along the way and it makes their day better, that's an awesome day for me, right? I know you do the same thing, don't you?
Yes. I was just told that we aren't having a link on your page, so people aren't following.
I wonder why.
Well, I just wanted to let you know. I wasn't ignoring you.
Okay,
I was
well,
just
we'll have
told
to find
that,
out why.
so.
There must be another technical glitch in there somewhere.
I'm sure the recording will come up, so we
But
just
if you
keep
go
going.
on Facebook in our group in Mind Whispering page, you'll probably find it there. Or you can go on to YouTube on the Mind Whispering page and you'll find it there as well.
The live feed's on there as well.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Okay.
So we'll work on that and we'll get it fixed. Who gave you the message?
Melinda and Jose, or no, Kimmy and Jose.
Kimmy and Jose. Ah. So let us know when you find it or if you find it. I wonder why that happened. I'll have to find out. Also, live viewer comments show up on StreamYard. This is an example. Click on a comment to show it on the screen. It is on the screen, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it should be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll get that figured out for next week, and we'll get that fixed, I'm sure. I don't know what happened. I know I put a post out this morning for it, or at least I thought I did. Maybe I didn't. All right. Well, we'll figure that out.
Yep.
And I promise I won't beat myself up over it either.
Nope. I just thought I'd let you know while we're just so we can discuss that too.
We can discuss what?
That way it wasn't that I was getting that message. I wasn't ignoring you.
Oh, no, that's fine. So, and we were talking about how you like to make people feel better too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And usually I talk to girls every day, and some are going through some stuff and some aren't, some women every day. Yeah. And sometimes it's just about switching up the mindset,
It's always about that.
Yeah. Because, well, sometimes they come in with a positive, but usually it's like, the wording might be a little different or, it's just switching it up just a little bit and having a different outlook on it. And that changes everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it feels really dark and dim, I can say, let's put that aside for now, right? Let's put that aside for now because we're not in the spot to address that, and then we'll come back to it. We're in a better position to a better mind frame, a better, go to God, go to meditation, and then we'll come back to that topic when we're, a little bit more centered, because sometimes we're thinking about it in a different way that's not helpful for us,
Well, I had a friend a number of years ago who claimed that she kind of liked being just a little depressed.
Oh. That
it was just like a warm bath to her or something, it was just something she was comfortable with. And as you know, Nick, depression is not something it's something I give, I don't get, right? and so as she's explaining this to me, I'm going, I just don't get that, but that's what works for you. That's fine. And so a few years later, we were talking and I said, well, remember when you were telling me how you liked being just a little bit on the depressed side? She goes, yeah, I was so full of it, Dan, it wasn't even funny. Right? She said,
Right.
I had to kind of like pull myself out of it to realize I was in it. And that
Yeah.
happens so easy, right? You know, it's, you're old enough to remember Jeffrey Dahmer,
Oh yeah.
right? For those of you that are on watching either live or in the broadcast, excuse me, Jeffrey Dahmer was caught with body parts in barrels in his living room. And it turned out that he was actually eating them. Yeah. And I was at a seminar, excuse me, I was at a seminar that day. And as most of the seminars I would go to in those days, it was mostly women and me and George, my mentor. And they were talking about how horrible it was that this guy did that, right? And George walks in and he says, look, the thing you have to understand is that we all have minds. And left unguarded, we're all capable of that and worse. Right? And that was like, holy cow. But then when you think about it, what kind of places have our mind taken us to that we didn't check and say, whoa, I'm not going there, right?
Yep.
And we would just go, well, mine says I got to go there, so I guess I'm going to go there. Duh. Right?
And we build grooves into that psychotic part of our brain.
Exactly
Yep.
right. Yeah. And that's another really important, I'm really glad you brought that up. That's really an important part of what the whisper work is about, is that the whispers kind of lift that groove up and out. Because what happens is the grooves in the mind, it's like we'll be going along and all of a sudden something will trigger it, and it's that groove that the mind goes, whoop, there's that groove. We got to go in there, and this is what we have to do because this is what we do when this happens, right? Someone looks at us funny and it's like, oops, I got to go down. I got to crash and burn because that person looked at me wrong, and God, I can't handle that. And we don't even realize how much strength we have inside ourselves, right? If you just realized, as I know my daughter is realizing more and more every day, as I'm realizing more and more every day, and really how each of us is realizing more and more every day that we're a lot more than we think we are. And one of the stumbling blocks for me through the journey, I'm going to go off screen for just a minute here, Nick, and see if I.
Well, I just had this conversation with somebody recently, which is why the grooves of the brain, and that's been drawn out for me and shown to me many times. And I sometimes forget it and have to be reminded of the grooves, and it's scientifically proven actually of the grooves in the brain. And, the more that we go down that path, we build the grooves deeper. So, but it's not permanent. It doesn't have to be permanent, right? The more that we are watching the mind,
exactly right.
The more that we keep that in check, we can, the brain rebuilds the grooves, right? The grooves clear.
Yeah.
So.
Good stuff, Nick. Awesome.
That's Teresa. I'll just put it out there now.
Well, that's absolutely right.
Yep.
Everyone's got some jewels in them, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And it's being able to hear it. It's kind of like goes back to that whisper so that we can hear God whispers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
and she was in a class, the friend I was talking to, she was in a class and they were actually talking about it. So she looked it up and she said, Nicole, it's actually scientifically proven that that's true. And I said, I didn't make this up. I was taught it too.
Yeah. And, and again, that's why the whispers are so important, is they just constantly let go of that energy. It's kind of like a degausser, right? It kind of just takes that negative pull and lets it go and converts it to positive energy. And then rather than that, that was for me, the thing that really made the biggest change was I was starting to understand a little bit that maybe I wasn't quite the piece of garbage I thought I was, but that mind would just still keep going back to that, just like you're saying, the grooves, right? And then once I got a balancing and I got to experience what it was like to have my mind be totally quiet, it was like, holy cow, what a difference. So anyway, we're running a little short today, and that's quite all right. I think we'll start calling it the about an hour positive hour.
Yeah, I like that. The positive half hour.
Yeah, positive half hour, or like my first broadcast, the positive 6 minutes.
6 minutes.
Right?
Oh, it's fun anyways, Pop. I love it.
I'm sorry we
being
didn't get
hanging out with
the
you.
broadcast out there. I will research that and fix it for next time. For those
Yeah,
of you
Melinda
who are
also
watching this
messaged
on
me.
recording, I'm glad that you are.
Yes.
Oh, one other thing. Let me show this one more time before we go. The
Yes.
YouTube channel.
Awesome.
Please do me a favor and subscribe. All right? Subscribe to the YouTube channel so we can get that growing as well. All right?
All right.
So
Sounds great.
until next week, I wish you all just a fantastic week and that you be really kind to yourself. Because if you're kind to yourself, you'll be kind to others too.
That's right.
Nicole?
I love you.
Anything you want to say?
I said, that's right. That's it.
Yeah. All right. I wish you all a wonderful week, and we will see you next Monday with that announcement early in the morning so that you know we're going to be here. We're going to be here.
Yes.
Absolutely. Have a good night, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.